Jeffrey here again with some more old American iron. I'm going to do a video of more of the detail of my 1930 P&H model 400 crane. It's set up for a clamshell right now, as there's no fair lead, and as you can see, this machine has a welded lattice boom. Any pictures I've seen of these machines, they would have riveted booms, so this must be one of the later that had a welded boom. P&H actually was one of the pioneers in electric welding, so they were probably some of the first ones to have them. So here you can see it. I'm going to try and get a close-up of the plaques, the nice cast iron plaques they put on them. Now here, if you look underneath at the tracks, they have a sign that says, for long distance travel in the direction of arrow. Of course, there's a homemade mud guard, so you can't see the arrow, because the machines should always be traveled in a forward direction with the drive gears to the rear. If you look at the tracks, P&H had their own term for it. Instead of Caterpillar tracks, they called it corduroy. That was their term for the tracks. There you can see in the back. I'll be getting inside to show you more detail. If we come around here, it's pretty sunny, so it's hard for me to see the screen to see what I'm videoing. You can see this machine does not have chain drive to the tracks like most machines of the era. It has a full gear drive. At one time there was actually, and I do have them, there were covers for over these final drive gears, but when I first moved the machine, I took them off to clean all the dirt and everything out, and I never got them reinstalled. Here's the bevel gear for driving the tracks, and there's the steering clutches and steering brakes. This machine, the dog clutch can be engaged to drive, disengaged to slowly turn, and then the brake applied to turn, make a tighter turn. And it actually has 2 speeds of travel. This is the shift lever to shift it from high gear to low gear. I've never traveled it in high gear. I have my doubts if I ever will. It doesn't really get moved only a few feet a year. You come around first. There's a number. I'm not quite sure if it would be a serial number or what. And there's no fair lead on the machine, so it's set up just for clamshell or lifting crane work. I do have the shovel front for it, but I highly doubt I'll ever install it. There you can see the open gear for the swing, as this is all open gear machine. I'm going to come back around under the back to show you under the back. Under the back here you can see the gear that does the swinging, and you can see the rollers that the machine sits on as it rotates. Here you can see the operating station with the levers, and you can see the steering wheel. The steering wheel goes down and turns a cam plate, which moves the steering clutches in and out and applies the steering brake. Down below you can see this machine has 3 brake pedals, the middle one being the brake for the swing. Here's the lever which shifts it from swing to travel to neutral, and when it's in the neutral position, you use the lever back here to engage the boom, disengage the boom brake, and engage the boom hoist, the worm type boom hoist. There's an oil pressure gauge, and as you can see, it's all open gears. It has contracting band, external contracting band brakes, external contracting band clutches on the hoist and the drag drum, which are located one in front of the other. It also has booster brakes or booster clutches on for applying the clutches for hoisting. And well, not a drag drum on here, it would be the closing drum and the hoist drum for the clamshell. And the boost works by, it applies a small brake, which in turn the drag on that brake applies the large, puts pressure on the large lever, which applies the clutch to do the hoisting. So the actual amount of energy applied to the levers is very minimal, so when everything's adjusted properly, it does not take a lot of effort to run this machine. Here you can see the engine. It's a Waukesha 4-cylinder gas engine. It's 500 cubic inches. It is not the original engine. The original engine, I believe, was approximately 560 cubic inches. It had a slightly bigger bore. But the original engine was not savable, as mice had gotten inside, and this has an aluminum crankcase, and we all know what mouse nest and mouse urine does to aluminum crankcase and inside the engine. It had actually corroded a hole right through the aluminum crankcase. This is an engine out of a truck which bolted in identical, just that it had a smaller bore on the cylinders, but it had the same stroke. You can see these engines were built. They have a cast iron oil pan, aluminum crankcase, and then two sets of cast iron cylinders that bolt onto the aluminum crankcase. This engine, I had to sleeve all 4 cylinders and cut in new valve seats, so the engine, and put in new rings, so the engine is in very good running condition. Here you can see the magneto and the water pump and the cups to grease the water pump and the packing nuts for it. Very simple oil fill system. And the fan, you can see it just has a leather belt, which I actually had a man make that leather belt, man who worked in a shoe factory, make that leather belt for me. Glued it and sewed it so it looks very much like an original. And the radiator I didn't have to do anything with. It doesn't leak. I didn't have to clean it, nothing. Which is kind of amazing for an old machine to not have to do anything with the radiator. Down here you can see there was a place for an electric start, and flywheel was machined for ring gear, and I wanted to put electric start on it, but I spent 2 months trying to find a ring gear, and I could not locate a ring gear, so I had to decide to crank start it just like they originally did, which is fine because it starts very, very easily. Here you can see the swing clutches. Well, they're the reversing clutches. They're used for swinging, for traveling, and for raising and lowering the boom. Here you can see the bevel gears that run down to the gear that swings the machine. And here you can see the worm drive for the boom hoist. So this machine has power up and power down, so you don't have to worry about dropping the boom like you do with some machines that strictly use a brake to lower the boom. You have to be real careful with those machines. Now if I step... Here are the plaques which show the patent numbers and the lifting capacity at whatever radius it is from the center of the crane, so that you can read yourself. See, at only 10-foot radius it'll do 22,000, all the way out to a 35-foot radius it'll only do 4,000. I want to thank you again for watching, and I'll be having more in the future.